Hello, Miss Ann here. I'm going to introduce one of your bingo activities to you for this week. It's one from the language column, and it says focus verbs. I'm going to call it a verb hunt. So just like you would do an Easter egg hunt where you go out and look for brightly colored eggs, in this hunt, you're going to be looking for special verbs. The kind of verbs that we're going to be looking for today are verbs that end in ed. First of all, let's just review what a verb is. A verb is a word that tells an action. So, we're going to be looking for verbs, action words, that end in ed. So, for example, here's a verb. Walk. I walk my dog. How does this word change, the meaning of walk change, when I add ed to the end of the verb? So instead of saying, I walk my dog, I say, I walked my dog. Automatically, by adding an ed to the end, it means that it already happened. I already walked my dog, which is true. I walked my dog 2 times today. Now, ed at the end of a verb can actually make 3 different sounds depending on the word. Let's think about what kind of sound ed makes in this word, walked. Walked. Do you hear what sound the ed is making in this word? Walked. I hear a T sound, t, t, walked. Can you try that? Let's try a different word. What about the word? Oh, I'm going to do a really good verb here. This verb is jostled. Jostled means when you take something and it kind of gets shaken up a little bit. Jostled. In this word, jostled, we know that it happened in the past because it has ed at the end, but the ed makes a different sound in this word. Jostled. Jostled. Do you hear it? In this case, ed makes the d sound. D. Jostled. There's one other way that it can sound. What happens in this word? This word is created. Created. I created a masterpiece yesterday in art. Created. What sound does the ed make in this word? Created. Created. Do you hear that? It kind of makes an ed sound. Created. So these are the 3 sounds that ed, the ending, can make when you attach it to a verb to make it past tense, something that happened in the past. Okay, so now that you've got that, we're going to go on a hunt for verbs that end in ed. The way you're going to do this is you're going to find a book. Maybe it's a book that you're already reading, or maybe it's another book that you want to read, but you're going to find a book that you can read, and you're going to look for ed words. When you find them, you're going to make a list. I challenge you to make at least, or to find at least 10 ed words as you read. So let's do the first few. Maybe do the first few with me. So the book that I'm reading right now is one of my very favorites. It's called Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. Reading this book as a kid made me actually fall in love with rats, and I had pet rats once, actually twice in my life. They're pretty great pets. So I'm just going to read the first paragraph of this book, and I'm going to stop if I find a verb that ends in ed. Ready? This chapter is called The Sickness of Timothy Frisbee. Mrs. Frisbee, the head of a family of field mice, lived in an underground house in the vegetable garden of a farmer named Mr. Fitzgibbon. Wait a second. I actually passed a word. Let me go back. Mrs. Frisbee, the head of a family of field mice, lived. I just found my very first ED verb. So here's where I'm going to add it to my list. My first verb is lived. And I'm going to underline the ED in my verb to remind me. Okay, let's continue. Lived in an underground house in the vegetable garden of a farmer named. The farmer was named. Another ED verb. The farmer was named. Okay. Whoops, my cap just fell on the floor. Named Mr. Fitzgibbon. It was a winter house, such as some field mice move to when food becomes too scarce and the living too hard in the woods and pastures. In the soft earth of a bean, potato, black-eyed pea, and asparagus patch, there is plenty of food left over for mice after the human crop has been gathered. There's another one. Gathered. There's my third word. Oops. Gathered. Gathered. Okay. And so I'm going to keep reading my book, and I'm going to create my list of 10 verbs ending in ED. I hope you go and find some fun verbs to add to your list. Have fun.